Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is JD. Who's here with me?
Michelle.
It's Michelle.
It's always Michelle.
Every time. Hasn't been one time when it wasn't. There was also a Beyond. There was a Kevin one time.
Yeah.
But it's always been a JD and a Michelle.
Yep. He is
never
not
a Willie
either
or a
of us.
Nope.
Not yet. Not yet. Please call me Willie.
Just your eighth old man named Henry. Anyway, so for those of you who might just be tuning in for the first time, first of all, hello. Thank you for checking out our show. The show's called We Watch Shudder because, as it turns out, we watch Shudder. If you don't know what Shudder is a streaming service. It's basically like the Netflix for horror and horror-adjacent films. They got all sorts of content on there, stuff you've heard of, stuff you have not, but you definitely should have. And they also release a bunch of exclusive and original stuff, and that's what we talk about here on this show. And we, for the longest time, they were putting one out every week or so, and we had some really solid run of episodes there. But what we're doing right now is taking some time to go back and dig into the archive episodes. Is that right? That's what we're doing, right, Michelle? I didn't completely forget the nature of what we're doing here today.
No, we are definitely going through older things that are in the catalog, including this movie that was requested by somebody. So it's not in chronological order.
Yeah,
we're already breaking it.
Yeah, we started last week with the earliest Shudder original / exclusive. I believe it was an exclusive. I think we get 7 or 8 exclusives before we get to that first Shudder original. But our plan was to do them in chronological order of release as they appear on the Shudder website, unless some of you out there in listener land got in touch with us and said, hey, there's this movie that I would really like to hear your thoughts on. And wouldn't you know it, it only took one episode and somebody said, hey, there's this movie that I watched on Shudder and I'd really like to hear your thoughts on it. And what is that movie, Michelle?
That movie is called Good Manners, and I had never heard of this before.
I also had never heard of Good Manners. It's a movie from 2018. I guess it depends on who you ask, because on Shudder it says 2018, but when I Googled it, it says 2017. You know, somewhere in that area.
I did read something about it being re-released, but I didn't delve into why that was. I had the same thing of trying to figure out which movie we should be watching and not seeing the correct year. So, I don't know.
Sure.
Life's weird. Time's an illusion.
Life is hard when movies happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes movies happen and they make hard life easier, and sometimes movies happen and they make hard life harder.
And sometimes they just make you hard.
Oh, what, is that where we went? Okay. I didn't really
Not
see
this
that
movie,
coming.
though.
I didn't really see that coming at all.
That's good. Get new glasses. Anyway.
At all. Hey, Michelle.
Yeah.
You're going to love this. Are you ready for this?
Uh-huh.
Good Manners is not a Shudder original or exclusive.
Oh, I knew that.
I did not.
Oh, no, I thought we were just taking requests for anything on the Shudder site. I'm not going to tell Eric we can't cover this one. I don't want to break his heart. I'm not embarrassed at all.
I knew
this.
I was scrolling through here trying to figure out. I thought for sure it was an original and/or exclusive, and it's not. So I guess for the first time ever, we're going to be talking about.
We've covered Blood Vessel. Was one that was not we've covered other ones. We're good.
What do you mean blood vessel? What's blood vessel?
Or what was it? The Blood Machines was not an original or exclusive. So we've done this before. Oh, well, okay. What podcast done. We broke our only rule. We did watch Shudder.
You know what?
Yeah.
Way back, I believe it was the first episode in June, because they didn't have a new original or exclusive, but they did release a bunch of movies spotlighting Eloy de la Iglesia. We watched The Cannibal Man. Yes.
Okay, so you're fine.
We're
You
fine.
didn't have a conniption when we broke the rule the first time. It's just when we broke the
we
rule.
didn't break the
second
rule
time.
then because there were no rules quite yet.
Exactly.
No, I'm just,
Okay, I gotcha.
I just, for some reason, I was under the impression that we were watching an original / exclusive this week, and it turns out, nope.
No,
Just a movie that is available on Shudder. It's called Good Manners. It's a Portuguese movie from 2017 / 2018. Has everybody completely stopped listening at this point? Probably. It's fine, guys. We know what's happening. Look, I'm not going to drop any names here because I'm not that kind of guy, but we got some really positive and uplifting feedback from somebody on one of our
Aaron B.
episodes here
Kuntz.
recently.
It was Aaron B. Kuntz.
Wow,
He's a
no,
big
it wasn't.
deal.
Why would you do that, Michelle? I'm trying not to be a name dropper here, and you're just...
We have the director and writer of Slapface at the top as a quote on our website. We are not above name dropping.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Anyway, I'm kind of riding that high. I didn't realize what we were doing. Oh, my Lord. Anyway, guys, thanks for sticking around through all this. Normally, any other professional podcast in the world would start over and just completely ignore this mess that we've made, but not us.
No, not us. Of course not.
No.
If they have listened to other episodes and haven't learned by now that you should just skip to the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, just if you really care about the movies. Otherwise, if you're here for just us, well, I guess maybe you've enjoyed this.
The
Michelle,
first 7 minutes is always us having a mental breakdown for a while.
It really is. It really is. Did you have a chance to look ahead at the Descripy script? And see if it's
crazy spoiler. It's
Is it?
crazy spoilery.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna read that.
Yeah, we'll talk about spoileries when we get to the spoileries. So,
Yep.
want to give us your spoiler-free thoughts on Good Manners?
Sure.
Portuguese film from 2017 / 2018?
Yeah, while watching this movie, I just started fixating on why Eric had talked to you about it because I was not part of that conversation. I have no idea if he liked this, if he disliked this. Eric
the
and I...
extent of that conversation was Eric said to me, "Hey, have you seen Good Manners on Shudder?" And I said no, and he said, "You should check it out sometime and tell me what you think."
Okay, I am
That's
so curious to
literally
know
the
how he
extent.
feels about this because I feel pretty solid in how I feel about this movie, and yet Eric and I often disagree on how movies, how good they are, and so I feel like I have a pretty solid understanding of how I feel about it, and if he's on the opposite end, I have questions.
Okay.
So I am going to say that the beginning of this movie was taking a trip into what I thought was just going to be kind of a boring standard horror thing. I was just kind of watching. I do like the two actresses. It didn't seem all that new with a like weird pregnancy thing going on. We've seen that before. Then it took a turn to go to something a little bit different, and I liked that. And then I stopped liking everything after that. So right when I got more interested is exactly when I didn't like it at all anymore. So that was a weird experience. At one point, it becomes a musical. I don't understand. I'm going to give it a 1.75 out of 5.
Yeah, this is not a thing that, maybe we should probably stop saying this is not a thing that happens often because it seems like we're saying it more and more frequently. But I'm kind of on the same page with you here.
Good.
For the first of all, when I turned the movie on, for some reason I thought it was about an hour and a half. I think what happened is it's 135 minutes, and I think I read it as an hour and 35 minutes.
Yeah, because there's no way this movie would be 2 hours and 15 minutes, and yet it is.
Yeah, it's. I feel like there's a better movie in this story. Right? And I guess, I don't know, I probably shouldn't even say a better movie. I think there's a movie I would have enjoyed more, is probably the way I want to say it. Trying to reprogram my brain there a little bit along the way. I was curious for the first hour or so. In fact, I'll tell you a couple of the questions or messages that I shot to Eric while I was watching through this. And then the thing happens that I think is the same thing that you were talking about where you suddenly got really interested. I'm guessing that's probably the same thing.
Yeah, because nothing happens until that point. So it's got
right. Nothing happens until it happens. And then I'm like, oh, shit. What? And then I was like really like on the hook. I was like, what's going to happen? And then I guess whatever happened. This is a hard one to talk about in a non-spoilery session. You said 1.75 skulls. I'm going to go 2 skulls on this one. There are things about it that I really enjoyed, but overall, as a complete movie, this just did not work for me.
Okay, that gives it a 1.875 out of 5. Oddly enough, despite the low score, I think people might want to see this one just because of the thing that happens. Well, but also, then you can kind of just have it on as background noise.
That's also a big part of why I specifically went back and said that this I can't say it's a bad movie.
It's odd.
It's a kind of movie that doesn't work for me, and I can talk more about that when we get to the spoilers.
Yep, I agree. Shall we get to the spoilers?
So if you do want to go see this movie, you're going to want to push that pause button right about when, Michelle? When should they pause?
Right now.
All right, did you come back? Man, I sure hope you came back, because we're not doing that thing anymore where we tell everybody before we hit the pause button to make sure you come back.
No, we just complain after we tell them to hit that they might not have come back. They might not have.
Well, I mean, you got to reinvent your gimmick every now and then, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
I love our gimmicks.
You can't be stale. Anyway,
no,
good manners. Let's talk about this movie, Michelle. Do you want to start talking about this movie?
Sure. I will definitely talk about the first half because I definitely only half paid attention to the second half because I have seen the second half of this movie basically in a completely different movie before. So the first half of this, it was intriguing, but didn't seem to original. It is a woman who is clearly affluent and she is pregnant and she needs help from a nanny. So she hires the nanny. It's Clara, and I should go
Anna.
Figure out these names. Thank you, Anna. So she hires Clara to be her nanny, but then she slowly starts asking her to do additional things. Anna is having a very rough pregnancy. The baby is very big. It keeps getting bigger. Clara and Anna develop a romantic relationship, which I kind of thought that development of that friendship, because they seemed like they didn't even like each other, and just watching them bond together and hearing about why Anna's in the position that she is, I thought that was all very interesting, and I thought it was really well acted.
So you find trauma bonding interesting, huh?
I mean, that's like all my friendships. We just hang out. Yeah, that's just how we just hang out and just talk about the bad things that have happened to us.
That's fair.
That's just regular friendship. But
that's fair.
Yeah, then they develop a romantic relationship, and then Clara tells Anna that she's been sleepwalking, and she killed a cat while she was sleepwalking, and she's been having this whole thing from meat, and then it turns out that Anna got pregnant by a werewolf, and now she's going to give birth to a werewolf, and the werewolf just breaks through her fucking stomach.
That was the moment.
That was the moment. It was very chest bursters from Aliens. It was like, oh shit, what is going on? Because so far it's been kind of like an eerie thing, but with like a lesbian romance happening. And so I'm like, okay, what is going on? And then the werewolf was really fucking cute. I thought the baby werewolf was so cute. And I see why the next thing that happens is Clara decides, well, this baby is mine now, and just leaves the fucking apartment with the werewolf and raises him as her own. And I get that, because if I saw that thing, I'd be like, I need to bottle feed that. That is so cute.
To be fair, Michelle, she leaves the apartment with the baby with the intention of abandoning it. Like, she
but then
leaves
the
it
song
by the
plays,
side of the road.
Then it's a musical.
Right, the song plays and the baby cries. And, you can't, I mean, when the baby cries, you can't just leave it there. That would make you a terrible person. And Clara definitely is not a terrible person.
No, she's very likable. She's just a nice nurse lady.
Yeah, it's so... Like, in that first chunk of the movie, let me give you an idea of... Because this is the part of the movie that I was watching when I was occasionally sending messages to Eric. And so, look, it's just the way my brain works, especially when a horror movie is clearly doing something, like establishing some sort of mysterious element. I kind of try to process it, right, and figure out what's going on. First of all, I would like to say, yet again, who made the fucking poster promotional image for this movie? The simple fact that there's like a woman's arm, and it's clearly a darker skinned woman's hand holding like an animal, almost human type of hand. Like immediately, like that just screams to me as soon as we know this lady's pregnant, there's like, okay, there's something going on with that baby. So I'm trying to determine what's going on with the baby and how this baby is some kind of animal baby. Because
some kind of animal baby.
Funny. And there's a scene here where she's talking about her horse. Like she's got like a cow's head on the wall.
She
grew
horse
up on
lady,
a farm.
A horse girl. Yeah, I didn't expect her to be a horse girl.
Yeah,
Also, her just super pregnant in that sequin dress. There's a lot of weird things going on.
Yeah, so the first message I sent to Eric about a half an hour in, when they get to that scene where Anna's telling Clara about life on the farm and how she really misses her horse. Like she is talking about that she really misses that horse, and she's got all these pictures, and she's kind of looking at that horse. And I'm sorry, because I was looking at some kind of animal baby. The first message I sent to Eric was, dude, if it turns out that the story of this movie is that she fucked that horse and now she's having a horse baby, I'm gonna be so mad. And thankfully, it definitely was not about a lady who fucked a horse. I thought it was going to be basically like the horse version of Titan, where instead of fucking a car, she fucked a horse.
I just gotta say that's really funny because I was friends with horse girls growing up, the ones who had lots of like figures of ponies, and the wallpaper in their house was a horse, and they went to the ranch and they loved those horses, and I did not get that vibe at all because I have just been friends with horse girls, and that's just how they are.
I got that vibe specifically because I spent the whole first chunk of this movie trying to figure out how that baby was going to be some kind of animal baby. And then, of course, from there, like, she starts talking about, like, she starts doing the sleepwalking thing, and she's obsessed with meat, and it's all related to the full moon cycle. And I was like, oh, like, and because she talks about how, like, she got pregnant at one point, but she never really talks about, like, how it happened. I mean, obviously we know how it happened, but not how it happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the story.
And then, so, like, I was like, oh, maybe this was some sort of thing, and like at one point I was like, oh, was she sexually assaulted by a werewolf? Is that what no, she just fucked a werewolf, is what happened, and now she's having a werewolf baby. And you are so right. The werewolf, like, first of all, like, this movie is a real slow, methodical pace, which isn't always a bad thing. It turns out it was a bad thing in this movie for me because it was way too long to be this slow. But man, it's like slowly building and developing this relationship between the two women and developing this this mystery, and then her fucking pregnant belly just rips itself apart in a gush of blood, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then
there was nothing like that before that moment.
No, it came
I mean,
out
the cat part was a little bit, but that was still not it was an entirely different filming
next fucking
of that
level.
scene.
Oh, I do want to mention before we get to that, the little like when she's telling the story about fucking the werewolf. They do
the
that in that
animation.
flashback with all the art. Like, that art was beautiful. I thought it was really cool. Nice little moment that they threw into this movie. I really enjoyed that.
Yet another genre, and
it's
just another
just
weird
there.
thing.
Yeah, it's just there. And so, like, her stomach explodes, and she's laying on the bed looking she literally looks like it was like a chest burster from Alien, only it was a belly burster. But also not just looking like a belly burster, but also looking like one of those face hugger eggs that bursts open in the face. Anyway, a lot of Alien sort of body horror shit. And then you see this thing crawling across the floor. And I'm like, oh, is this going to be some sort of, like, weird creature thing? Like, some weird, like, werewolf baby? Like, this is going to be, but it's all, like, dragging a placenta behind it, and it's got the umbilical cord. And then they show you this fucking werewolf baby's face. And I almost cried. It is so cute. It was so fucking cute. And it's got the umbilical cord wrapped around its neck because, of course, it does. That's the only thing anybody ever thinks of when babies die. And it's not breathing. And she's got she's looking like she's going to kill it. And then she decides to save it. And then I was like, that whole sequence out with the stomach bursting and we discover the cute, adorable werewolf baby in this bloody pile of muck. Then she takes him out, and it looks like she's going to abandon him by the riverside. At one point, I thought she was going to, go over there and, chuck the baby into the water or something. Then, of course, she's like, I can't do this, and she walks away, and she runs away and hides the baby, and then it flashes forward in time, and the next hour and a half of the movie, I just didn't give a fuck about it all. There's just no other way to say it.
I was not paying
so
attention
prepared
to how far into the movie we were, and I could not tell. The pacing of this movie is very strange. It's very slow, but then you have that moment. I thought that was going to be the end of the film. I had no idea how much we had left because this movie is also very long. It could have ended there, and I would have given a better score. It wouldn't have been a perfect movie, but then there's a whole thing, which I've seen from Blood Moon, the movie that I accidentally misquoted in our Best of 2022 thing because I was trying to think of the After the Dark special that used to be on Hulu where they did the monthly horror movies.
yeah.
Blood Moon is one about a woman with a werewolf baby and trying to keep him safe from other people. So I've seen this movie. This is exactly Blood Moon, basically.
Well, but you got to be fair. When was Blood Moon released? Which one actually came first?
I don't know. I'm just saying, this wasn't a thing I cared about, and
right? Yeah, I was definitely
Blood Moon came first by 4 years.
I was definitely curious to see where this was going, and then it just never really went anywhere that was really interesting to me. This feels like a movie that very much wants to utilize horror elements without being seen as a horror film. It felt like I definitely understand, there's, first of all, it's like two different movies with that turning point. You have the first movie where it's about, I was like, okay, where's this relationship going? They develop this bond between this lady and the mother. And I'm like, okay, how is that dynamic going to play in after the baby comes? And then the mother is just fucking dead. And then it becomes a movie about this woman and this baby that she raises that's not her baby, but apparently she feels some kind of responsibility to it. And it was is very long and very slow and very melodramatic, and you could see every development in the plot coming a mile away. They could have told this exact same story and been almost an hour shorter. I mean, frankly, you could tell that first hour of this movie in 10 minutes. I don't know any other way to say it. You really could. But it's just... the pace was too slow. It was way too long. There was definitely a point, maybe for the last 45 minutes of the movie where I was only paying attention enough to make sure I marked what happened in the plot. It just had no hook for me whatsoever.
I have two thoughts about the second half of this movie, basically the second movie. It was a sequel. It just came out immediately. First off, the kid is a pretty good actor, despite me not liking this. I think the cast is actually very talented. I did enjoy them. That guy's name is Miguel Lobo, and Lobo is Spanish for wolf. And I'm wondering if that's why he got the part. Or if he's just like, I'm going to be a werewolf, and I'm changing my name to Miguel Lobo for that. I just want to know the connection there. Secondly, when he goes full werewolf at the end of this movie and he's a full CGI raging thing, which also the ending is really, really bad. The rest is a pretty tepid movie, but that gets it's awful.
Well, when it turns into Frankenstein, even though it's a werewolf movie, yeah.
Yeah. That werewolf. So we start with this werewolf baby that is very cute. We end with this werewolf preteen who looks like the first draft of Sonic the Hedgehog, the one that the internet got really angry about. It is very bad.
Yeah, here's the impression I got, and I don't know if this is true or not. It's just the way it appeared to me. I feel like the werewolf baby was a practical effect, and the werewolf preteen was clearly digital, and it didn't work.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I think so, too. I just think the design of it is so goofy, and the fact that they're just showing it in full light, they're not trying to hide any of the CGI. I know somebody was very proud of what they did. I would be too, but it was not good for this movie. He looks like Sonic the Hedgehog.
And also it's that level of like they did their best to integrate the CGI into the image, but like you can see all the edges, right? Like it's a noble effort. I applaud them for their effort. And again, I suspect there is a certain kind of person who probably would love this movie. It did absolutely nothing for me at all. I felt like again for what kind of a, like, I thought the idea of the story, because so many werewolf stories are all centered around like puberty and the emergence of the werewolf during puberty. And I really appreciated that idea of like, what if it was a werewolf baby? Because again, I haven't seen Blood Moon, so cut me some slack. That was somewhat of a new one for me. But and so I was I thought a lot of what happened in that first hour, especially, was. I mean, it was curious, and it's not that it was a bad movie. They ultimately, for me, didn't really do anything with it, except it's the first part of the story where it's like, if what you were trying to do was establish a believable relationship where you could then believe that this lady would try to raise this dead woman's werewolf baby, even though she was just her nanny, then, well, I guess this is what they thought it would take. But I don't know. I'm just kind of randomly assembling thoughts about this movie, which in a lot of ways felt like how the movie was made.
Yeah, because there's a musical part too.
Yeah,
songs. Not even counting the landlady who's just like hanging out on her piano for whatever reason. We get extended shots of that. It's also this romance film, but like weird, lots of Zumba style workout scenes.
Yeah,
just lots of dancing from the pregnant lady. Just so much going on, and it was kind of just a weird mishmash. And I didn't hate that in the first half. It just feels like the second part went in a very different but still weird direction that I did not like as much.
There is a part of me, as with a lot of foreign language films. Like some of the comments I looked at, some blurbs from various positive reviews of the movie, and I saw people talking about like social commentary and philosophies and thematic ideas of like motherhood and all this, and I could definitely, I guess the motherhood things I see, the struggles of being a single parent and all that sort of thing, sort of amplified here. Being an adopted or an adoptive parent and various other things, but if there's social commentary happening here, I must have completely missed it, or something was lost in translation, because I just felt like what was the social commentary? Like, oh, people won't accept a werewolf baby? Oh, okay.
I'd accept the werewolf baby. It's just when he becomes a preteen that he's kind of freaky.
Yeah, werewolf preteen's gotta go.
Werewolf baby, fine. It's just a puppy.
I'm pro werewolf puppy. Yes.
Yeah, pro werewolf puppy, anti werewolf teen. If you're a preteen werewolf out there, just don't tell me about it. It's fine.
You know why? Because preteen werewolves turn into teen wolves. Are you familiar with Teen Wolf?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was free on YouTube last year, so I watched it for the first time. That was an experience.
It sure was. I watched that movie a whole bunch of times in my childhood and had a lot of good memories of it, and then I didn't see it again for about 25 years, and then I watched it again, and I was like, Oh, that movie is real problematic.
Very much so.
Anyway, I don't really have much more to say about Good Manor. I keep wanting to say Good Madam, which was a different movie that we talked about last year. Yeah, that's Good Manners. Like I said, I'm sure there are people out there who will enjoy this. It was well made. I thought the acting performances were pretty solid. It's just the story did nothing to pique my interest at all. This is not for me, not my flavor.
Yeah, it's not even just a bad movie. I just didn't enjoy it.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
weird. It's weird, and I did not. I didn't like it. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, sorry, Good Manners. We hope you try again, and we will gladly take a look at what. They're not listening.
They're not.
No,
I'm not.
Well, I mean, I guess they might be listening.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody decided to name drop earlier, but people do occasionally listen.
Crazy.
Anyway, guys, that was Good Manners. We had to put an episode out. Oh, did we have to put an episode out, Michelle? I think maybe. I don't. Are we ever going to take a vacation is my question.
We have a vacation. We're going to wrestling tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're going to Skinamarink this weekend.
Yes, we are going to go see we're going to go see Time Bomb Pro Wrestling tomorrow. We are sponsoring that event again at the Sanctuary Event Center here in Fargo. Was originally scheduled for back in December, but then the weather happened. And now we're doing it again for reals this time, for really reals. If you are in the Fargo-Moorhead area, it's at Sanctuary Event Center. Doors at 7, bell at 8. I believe there are about a dozen general admission tickets still available last time I heard. I believe it's either $20 or $25 at the door. You should come check it out. We're going to be on hand. Michelle.
Yeah.
What are we going to watch next week and talk about here on the show?
Next week, we're back to our regular bullshit, and we're going to watch Sorry
back
About
on
the
our
Demon.
Bullshit.
Sorry about the Demon comes out. Yes.
Hey, Michelle, do you know who produced Sorry About the Demon?
Is it Aaron B. Kuntz?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay, we're going to have to like that one. Just everything going forward, I'm going to be like, yes, it is good. 5 skulls.
I would like to point out that Michelle is the one who has said the man's name several times in this episode.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm a fan.
It was a very nice thing. So Sorry About the Demon is next week. As Michelle mentioned, Skinamarink, which will be released on Shudder for streaming later this year, is getting a limited theatrical run starting tomorrow, really, but technically on the 13th is the release date, Friday the 13th. It's playing at the West Acres Cinema here in Fargo. We are definitely going to go check it out. Get an early view on it so that when the time comes to watch it on Shudder, we can maybe have some extended discussion of that film. I'm pretty excited. There are a couple of movies that I was really eager for coming into the year, and Skinamarink was one of them, and also a movie called The Outwaters. And then Maxine is coming. Oh, that's going to be a good year, Michelle.
I think Beau is Afraid comes out this year, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Lots of good things happening in horror.
I have mixed feelings, but we'll talk about it when I actually have seen the film.
We have
scared.
We have a new, if you haven't heard, a new blog post up on WeWatchShudder.com. Michelle and I and some other folks ventured out into the theater world to see a film called M3gan, Megan, which I'll be honest with you, I was not even certain why I went to this movie, but then I went to this movie, and, well, go to the website, read the blog, you'll understand. M3gan, a James Wan joint. I believe this is the first film from that new James Wan Blumhouse partnership that was announced just recently. Go check out that blog post. We're still on the social media, right?
Yeah. I mean, for now.
Well, tell everybody where to that. I was trying to feed it to you to give a plug, Michelle. Good Lord,
I had no idea. I was
never done this before.
No, I was like, are we taking down the social media? Because I wouldn't be surprised. Who knows? We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. TikTok is still not up. I'm sorry. I've been so busy, but it's out there. So if you want to go follow us, we are at We Watch Shudder on all the platforms. You can go watch JD just get really excited about wrestling on Twitter, and then I get notifications for things that I know nothing about. Or else you can go check out Facebook and Instagram, where I sometimes just go on monologues that JD knows nothing about.
That's wonderful.
We're on our own platforms.
Oh yeah. Here's this is a fun thing, Michelle. We did this cultural index thing at my new day job, and got our results back. The results of my cultural index survey classify me as an influencer. Hey, why is that funny?
It's nothing.
No, you're right. It's funny.
I can just imagine you like on Instagram posing with like some milkshake from someplace on a beach, just trying to be like, wow, I'm living my best life, using like little emojis in all your posts, like little sunshine, the little sun with the sunglasses.
No, not gonna happen.
That'd be so great. I really want to see you try to do an influencer Instagram.
It would be pretty ridiculous. I would not be nearly as successful as them folks from The Seed that we talked about a while back.
Well, you just need a good team backing you to push out that content.
Right. Well, Michelle, it's damn near midnight, and I got the cable guy coming at 8 a.m. to turn on the cable TV for Mama while she's sitting around here, and I'm at work. So we should probably put a pin in this one, right?
I guess. I had so much more to say about good manners, though.
Did you?
Guess we'll just save it for next time.
Let's do it. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.